Hey YouTube, Sam here. Well, I got a little bit of a comparison of this Dr. Seuss looking foam behind me here. This is the first time I've used this Loctite foam stuff here, but it's supposed to fill gaps and cracks. I haven't really did a lot of reading on it, to be honest. I read what I needed to do to get it done, but it does not say that I've seen anyways that it's for like around windows, so that's one caveat to this. This one I'm using window and door and comparing it to this with the Great Stuff foam. Now I've used this quite a bit, and I still think I would use this Great Stuff around the window area if I was filling the windows like I've done in some previous videos. You have to go check those out on how I take these windows and actually, I personally believe, make them more efficient. Anyhow, so what we're going to do is I've already filled these up, let them dry, and quite honestly I have more of this in here, as you'll see, than I do the other stuff because I needed to finish it off and I had some, so I used this. But then I figured out that I do think there is some good and bad about both, so I thought I'd go over what that was. And from first glance, what I can see is I do like this Loctite foam. The only problem I've had is I actually put way too much in here. I could have probably got away with like half the can finishing this up and had more to spare instead of having to go get this. And it really foams out, and I'll show you a little bit closer. As you can see, that stuff just really comes out quite a bit. And this is the other stuff, the Great stuff. And honestly, I filled that what I thought would be more than enough to fill that gap, and it's actually still not quite filled there. And about the same with this, and this just pours out. Same thing with this gap right here. I filled this up. Now, take it granted that this is a smaller between here and here. This gap is actually thinner than the gap that this is filling here. But I filled it out about the same. This is very unscientific, by the way, so take it for what it is. This is just my observation. But I filled this gap about the same as I did this gap with this stuff, just to test. So I was actually, when I started using this, I started really paying attention, compared, you know, filling this the same as I filled this. And as you can see, there's still some gap in here. Some of it kind of came out in different areas and things, specific places. And down here where I started putting more in because it actually was seeming like it wasn't going to fill it completely all the way, so I actually did start putting more in down here. And it did come out a little ways, but I would say there's actually more of this than there was in these areas, and it still just didn't fill it quite a bit. Like I said, this stuff is for windows and doors, so it's actually pretty pliable once it's all said and done. It's fairly squishy. I would say this is less so. So, you know, if I went and got this stuff that wasn't for the window and door, it might foam more. But I really don't know, because I've used the just plain Great Stuff before, and it doesn't foam like this stuff does. This stuff really, it really went out quite a ways. Now I did make sure my window and stuff was, you know, open and closing and all that, which it is, but I actually broke this piece over here at another point in time, which I gotta fix. Keep an eye out for a video on that. But anyway, but this stuff, it's somewhat pliable, but it cracks more than this stuff. I don't know, this stuff just definitely is squishier, as to where this is quite a bit harder. Well, I don't know if you can see much of a difference, but there's the inside, how it comes out. And I will say, once again, this is quite a bit harder. This is softer. This has less bubbles. This has quite a few bubbles in it, as to where this does seem a little more solid, which it does advertise that this is supposed to fill more. So, but all in all, I don't know. As far as I know, air gaps can actually be very good for insulation. So who knows if that's good or bad. I don't know if you'll notice this, but I cut into this, and as you can see, there's quite a few pretty big holes and gaps there. Now it's harder to tell in the white, but there's far fewer gaps in big areas. There's a couple of big ones, but if you look pretty much most of the way down this, there's hardly any. Here's the other thing, price. At Walmart, this is a lot cheaper. Couldn't find this at Walmart. This was only at Home Depot where I found it. It's probably at Lowe's too. But the Loctite was, I think, a little bit less than the Great Stuff at Home Depot, but the Great Stuff had a bigger bottle of it, and this only came in the 12 ounce, and this is a 12 ounce that I got at Walmart, but it was like, I don't know, quite a bit cheaper at Walmart for a couple less ounces. I think it was either a 16 or 18 ounce. I honestly don't remember. Sorry about that. But anyway, I still think this stuff, can to can, would go a lot further, especially if you realized you didn't have to fill it like I did here. So I think this would actually go further than even a bigger can of Great Stuff. Yet again, this is not scientific by any means, this is just my opinion. Something about this that really overshines the Great Stuff. I didn't get any of this on my hands, and every time I use this, it leaks out of the bottle part right here where this is. Every time. I mean, every can I've ever had has leaked out of this area right here. I don't know what the deal is, but this is definitely a better tip. And every time I use these, I don't know, I've said this in other videos, but if I'm using a can and I'm throwing it away and I'm going to grab another can and use it, I'll use the same tip so that I can have extra tips of these. For like this can, I didn't use it all up. Now I can take this off and put one. I have other tips like these too. Put the other tip on here and probably get it to work again. That doesn't work every time, but most of the time, you can get these to work again. I've never tried it with this kind, but as soon as I was done, I pulled this tip off, put this tip back on this can, and started going again. I went through a couple cans, and I could have easily got away with one can of this, I think, all the way around this window, if not even still had some left. Because I did not put that much in these walls. I was very surprised how much it filled out. This is getting too long anyway, so there's other things. So I mean, this is not really I'd choose this over this kind of thing. I do think that the window and door stuff, I will look and see if Loctite has a window and door stuff, but I did specifically look for that and didn't see it. Now there's a 2x4 here and a pretty big window seal here, so I wasn't too worried about it pushing in on the window, and I knew it would come out this way rather than pushing on the window. Now if this was closed up, you'd probably want to use the window and door specific stuff, because it squeezes in instead of pushing it and messing up your window and door frames and pushing them out. So that's where this stuff is, you know, I know that works because I've used it for that. This, I don't know. It worked fine here. Everything's working fine. And I think you'd get away, even though it might cost you a little bit more in the beginning, you'd be able to use less of this than this from what I've seen. So take it all for what it is. Yet again, not scientific, just my opinion. This is Sam, Jack of all, Master of none. You all have a good one.